Alrighty, everyone. Good morning to you guys all here. Happy Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. We did have some severe weather yesterday across the Ohio Valley. Luckily, only two tornado warnings were issued yesterday in the state of West Virginia. Outside of that, mostly severe thunderstorm warnings with wind and hail moving across portions of southeast Ohio into eastern and central Kentucky, West Virginia, southern Pennsylvania, and Virginia and into Maryland last night. So yesterday could have been a little bit bigger than what was forecasted. It did not come to that, which is some good news. We were on stream yesterday for about 4 hours, kind of covering, and we really only got a couple warnings out of it. So good news that yesterday's forecast really did not hold in terms of the tornado potential. So good news going forward today. We're not expecting really much of any severe weather. There is still a chance for some severe weather over here into portions of New York State, up into Boston, Massachusetts. Marginal wind and hail threat in place for today. Not really looking at a tornado risk, though. You can see the upper level trough that is in place here moving here. You can see our cold front off to the east. This should be in place for about a couple more hours here by late evening, dinner time tonight. This should be done and out of here, and this system will be gone in history. Now, what we're going to be watching for starting tomorrow is another round of severe weather that's going to be existing over portions of the plains. We're going to be entering this very, very active pattern where we're going to see multiple rounds of severe storms pretty much every single day, I think, going forward, at least for the long-term forecast-wise. The Storm Prediction Center has highlighted risk zones basically from today all the way to Sunday, and I do expect more to come out starting next Monday and beyond that point here. But you can see on the west side over here of the United States, we've got some troughing ongoing over here near the Los Angeles, California area. This is a little shortwave trough that's going to be moving in, bringing some showers and some storms to you guys over there. And then our next big system is still off the west coast here. But all in all, if you're across the United States today, this is probably going to be one of our quietest days out of the whole entire week. Enjoy that time. Get out there, get the grass mowed, anything you need to get done outside. This is definitely a day to do that because we are going to start to see rain, showers, storms, and severe weather move in over the next couple of days. So that's going to be what we're going to be talking about in today's video. We're going to do a dive depth into our models, do a dive depth into SPC, kind of talk about what we're going to be seeing in the future, and kind of go from there. So we'll go ahead and get into it, and we'll hop over to SPC. Now, I did mention there was a Storm Prediction Center outlook for today. We have a marginal risk for severe weather basically for eastern Pennsylvania, southern portions of New York, all the way up into Boston, Massachusetts. Less than 2% tornado risk, not zero, but less than 2%, so can't rule out an isolated tornado, but it's a 1 to 2% chance there. Wind threat at 5%, hail threat is less than 5%, so really looking at more of an isolated wind threat of winds to 60 miles per hour. And so, like I said, showers and storms could fire off later this afternoon in terms of that, so we'll keep you guys updated on that situation. If anything does go tornadic, we'll get on live stream for that as always. Tomorrow, we're looking at another marginal risk zone for severe weather, and this is actually going to update probably in about 30 minutes for the new day 2 outlook, so we'll probably have the updated version of this on TikTok. And as you guys are actually watching here, we got a severe thunderstorm warning there in New York, so Brewman, what is that? Tioga County, New York there. Be mindful there. Wind is going to be the primary threat with that severe thunderstorm warning. So we are seeing those severe thunderstorm warnings this morning and this afternoon that are going to be ongoing there. So just be mindful of alerts on your phones over there in New York, Massachusetts area, and into eastern Pennsylvania in case anything were to happen. But as I was saying here a second ago, marginal risk for severe weather back into portions of far southwestern Iowa here, getting into western portions of Missouri, into southeastern Nebraska, eastern Kansas. This is really going to be more of a wind and a hail threat in this area. Not expecting really any tornadoes tomorrow. I don't plan on going live for this event tomorrow. We'll just be on standby in case a slight risk upgrade or something happens. But as of right now, looking at a marginal risk for wind and for hail tomorrow, you can see both of those categories at 5% there. Now, things start to get interesting once Thursday gets here. I do expect us to have a live stream on Thursday to cover this event. We've got a pretty elongated general thunderstorm risk basically from California all the way up into the Northwest Pacific here, or not Northwest Pacific, up into the upper Midwest and the Northern Plains. Marginal risk in the dark green there and slight risk in the yellow. And you can see probabilistically here, we do have a 15 and a 5% risk, and that 15% is actually hatched, and that's going to be more than terms for the hail. Thursday looks to be a hail-driven risk zone, and I would not be shocked because this risk zone's been in place for a couple days now if we got a small 30% hatched enhanced risk in the middle of this for hail on Thursday. So we'll keep you guys updated in that. Like I said, we'll talk more about that in the live stream this afternoon, or tonight, I should say, in general. Going forward in future videos. Also on the live stream side of things, guys, I am waiting for my dual stream access for both YouTube and TikTok to happen. So as of right now, until that gets fixed, we will be back to live streaming on TikTok. I know we did a live stream here on YouTube yesterday, but we will be back to live streaming on TikTok until that situation gets fixed. So make sure you guys tune into TikTok in the future here, and we'll continue to update you guys on that. Down the road here as well, looking at a slight risk, level 2 risk there in the yellow. Probabilistically, like I said, hail is going to be the biggest threat for that. Isolated wind and hail threat will also be, or not hail, but threat. isolated wind threat will be there and also the tornado threat in place as well. Now, things get a little bit more interesting as we get into the weekend here. Friday, we have elongated, slight riskier day 4 outlook for portions of Texas, all the way up in Oklahoma, Missouri, portions of northwestern Arkansas, back into Illinois, Indiana, southern Wisconsin, Michigan, and Indiana and Ohio there. So we're going to be looking at numerous, or scattered to potentially numerous damaging wind and hails, and then maybe even an isolated tornado threat. I will say, though, Friday looks to be more of a wind and a hail threat than it is a tornado threat, but there will be more than likely a 2 or 5% tornado risk that comes with this. We'll talk more about that when our models come out tomorrow in our video. Day 5 outlook also being introduced here. Texas all the way up in Oklahoma, Arkansas, portions of Kentucky again. Tennessee, myself being included in that risk zone for Saturday. All modes of severe weather, wind and hail will be the main priority threats. And then we get to day 6. And I want to talk about day 6 for a second because I'm starting to see a trend here with our models. And we'll continue to talk more in depth on this as well as we get closer to Sunday. But Sunday has the potential to be the more robust day, I think, personally, out of the whole entire week event here. And the reason I say that is because we're going to potentially have a negative tilted trough to either to the left or a neutral tilted trough here over Oklahoma/Texas. And what that does is it brings in more shear, more instability, more dew points, more organized severe weather. And I do think going into Sunday afternoon is going to be our best window for tornadoes personally in terms of what we're seeing overall. Now, things can change. Things can uptrend in other days. Things can downtrend. But right now, Sunday looks to be the big day for Easter. So if you're in Arkansas, the whole entire state of Arkansas on a level 2 out of 5 slight risk, and Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma here, getting up into portions of Missouri, Illinois, Western Kentucky, Western Tennessee here, we're going to have to watch for these areas here for the potential for all modes of severe weather and even more of a higher in tornado risk than typically what we see more times than not. So just something to be mindful of as we go into the Easter weekend here. If you have plans, have a way to get alerts on your phones, all of that, etc. Just something to be mindful of. Know where to go if you get a warning, if you are outside and about. Don't get caught off guard with storms coming in. Second here, we don't have a day 7 or day 8 outlook, but I think things that'll change as Monday and Tuesday get here as we'll see another system moving through. Let's talk about what we're going to be looking at on our Jetstream here in terms of the overall forecast here. And you can see once again, this is our Jetstream that's in place for now. We've got a positively tilted trough moving in. This will be off the coastline by later on this evening into tonight. We'll clear out and we'll have pretty decent ridging in place over majority of the United States going into Thursday and into Wednesday, or Thursday and into Friday. And then once Friday gets here, we have what's called a subtropical jet stream coming out of the West Pacific and a trough moving in out of Canada. But these are basically going to merge over the weekend here. The subtropical jet stream moving in southwesterly winds basically from Texas, New Mexico, all the way up into Michigan. That is why that slight risk is so elongated on Friday, because of the threat that we'll have enough shear in place for wind, for hail, and maybe even a brief couple tornadoes. As we see that jet streak continue to work its way east there, we're going to basically see this low pressure system crash, and we're going to get this either positive or negative tilted trough. The GFS not doing so great with this solution for Sunday. I think the European is more of the better solution in terms of what it's been showing potently wise. We'll just have to watch the back and forth trends with both of these models as we get closer to Sunday, but just not enough confidence there quite yet for a more in-depth conversation on Sunday, I should say. So we're going to watch Sunday, see what happens there. Saturday, there will be that severe weather threat across Kentucky, back down into Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And then we get into, early next week, and things get a little bit more interesting here. We're not seeing any major troughing, at least through Wednesday or Thursday. There will be, some zonal flow. Mid-level winds could be anywhere from 30 to 40 knots. So there could be some showers and some thunderstorms ongoing. But as we go towards the end of next week, and it looks to be we're going to see another low pressure system that's going to try and deepen across California here and work its way up through the West Pacific here and give us a threat for another chance of some severe weather late next week. And that's still very, very far out in terms of looking at. And you can see as we go towards the end of April here and beginning of May, things could start to change. We could see some bigger troughing coming in as we get closer to the beginning of May, which would lead to our more robust severe weather season for the month of May. So another thing we're going to look at here, this is just precip, kind of give us an idea of what we're going to see precip wise over the next little bit here. Those blue lines are going to be temperatures at 32 degrees or below. So we're seeing one more little cold shot of air this afternoon through the next 48 hours across the Ohio Valley, the Northeast here. So 2 more days of this, and then we should start to really see a warming trend. High pressure should be dominating by the end of this week before more severe weather works its way in this weekend. And you'll see on Thursday and Friday here, showers and storms moving in across the Missouri Boot Hill area there into the Ohio Valley. And then on Friday, we see that organized severe weather setup popping up there. 32-degree line to the north there, warm air advection moving in out of the south here. You typically get those clashes of air masses and you get severe weather. And then after that, we get into Friday, Saturday, seeing storms coming in on Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday and Tuesday. And then after that, like I said, things get a little bit more uncertain into next week, but we'll talk more about that as we get closer to that event happening. Another thing I want to focus on as well is going to be those dew points here. Gives us an idea idea of how moist the atmosphere is, how saturated it is in the mid to upper levels and at the lower levels here. And you see those blue colors start to pop up here. Those are those 60-degree plus dew points. Those darker greens and lighter greens are 50 to about 55, maybe a little bit higher than that. But when we start to see those 60s emerge here, that gives us the idea that we're going to see pretty decent moisture return, giving us that overall threat for severe weather. And then after that, like I said, things start to become very, very active. We continue to see trends of moisture pulling, throughout the month of April here, giving us the threat for some type of severe weather potential. And especially as we go towards the last weekend of April, I think things really start to trend up in terms of severe weather. Another thing we're going to look at, one more thing here, is going to be the instability values here. Enough instability will definitely be in play, especially going into Thursday. We'll have well enough instability for some wind, some hail, and an isolated tornado across the Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa area on Thursday evening, Thursday night there, right around 1,000 joules per kilogram, potentially a little bit higher than that in some areas. And then we get into Friday, enough instability across that slight risk zone, anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 joules per kilogram. Moving into Saturday, we'll see more instability moving in here, a little bit lower instability values, but just enough to keep severe weather going across Kentucky, Tennessee, back down into Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. And then we get into next week, and things become a little bit more uncertain in terms of where we're going to see severe weather at, but definitely looking at a potential return late next week. So that's what I've got for you guys in the video. We'll have another video tomorrow for y'all. As always, I appreciate y'all. Have a wonderful Tuesday, and be safe, guys.